What's good, y'all? Hope you are having a good day wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. And today, we have a good conversation coming up. So, me and Alex had a conversation. Was that last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, last week where I was going through some trouble with my faith. And a lot of you guys who are probably listening to me, if you've been watching me for some years, a big part of my beginning journey on social was me talking about my faith. The first video that kind of went viral for me was when I got cut from the Vikings, and I talked about my faith and how God was going to kind of everything happens for a reason is essentially what I said. I think that's how Alex actually found me too.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so a lot of you guys know me from my faith, and also you guys know me from you guys know me from sharing the hard times of my faith and like the good times, I guess you can say. And in this season, I've kind of been in a hard time, really, probably for the past. I mean, honestly, probably for like, I would say the past couple of years, and I go in and out of like these these waves of like, uh, I want to call it questioning, but I would call it like asking. Well, I guess it is questioning. I am questioning
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was. It's and
That's not a
question. Yeah.
negative
Yeah.
way.
Questioning isn't a negative thing, and I think when it comes to faith, questioning can be seen as bad,
Right.
and that's the problem with faith. Is like if you bring a question, you're asking because you want to know more and you have this belief, and if you ask the question, you're hoping that the answer to that question helps you believe, right? That's a healthy way to have faith. And so anyways, me and Alex were talking, and I came to him because he's like my work therapist. And I was telling him about a problem that I'm having in the mornings when I wake up, because typically what I've done for the past couple of months. No, I've been reading Bibliotheca for a while, like
Mm-hmm.
since last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, yeah, since last year. And Bibliotheca is a Bible that I read from a friend named Adam Green, who has his company called Bibliotheca, and it's basically a Bible that is nothing but text, no references, it's nothing. It's just like this really beautiful design Bible that's split up into different books from the Bible, because typically you get the Bible and it's one big book. And what Adam did is split the actual stories and books into their own sections, so that way you can just be in that story.
You got it behind you.
Yeah, Bibliotheca is behind me in the. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it in one of the shots. So I've been doing that for a minute, and then recently, and that was like probably the best reading experience that I've had was reading Bibliotheca. But after some time, after reading it, I kind of hit that same slump of like, I don't want to read the Bible anymore. And I was having a hard time with that because I'm like, man, I thought I finally found the thing that's going to make me want to continue to read the Bible. And, with me and my faith, if I feel a certain type of way and it's not malicious toward my faith, or it's not like downcasting like my morality and my beliefs, then I listen to that thing. So if I don't want to read the Bible, I'm not gonna do it. Like I'm not gonna go to hell if I don't read the Bible. But there's this guilt part of me that's like, well, I should be reading it because it's like the holy text. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
thing that's going to get me to essentially live right, which is a bunch of BS, right? Like I can read the Bible and still go out and just go do my own thing and whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think the thing that's interesting too is like you do that with everything. And I think we just like put the Bible on like this pedestal of like the ultimate thing. When I read this, I can't do any wrong. I'm not gonna do anything bad. What's the difference between that and then reading like a diet plan, feeling like it's gonna be great, and then you go the next day and you just
Yeah.
completely just miss the diet? It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah. That's fair.
And I think that like we need to be able to sit with that, understand it, because then I think it gives us more opportunity to be all right with being human. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just like, nah, I'm gonna mess up. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna fall short. So I came to Alex and we started talking, and I expressed to him what I was feeling, and he had this, and we started conversing. Like, what did we start talking about? Like what did you hear when I brought up this conversation to you?
Well, I guess I'll just say what you said to me. I think,
Mm-hmm.
which is you were more talking about like you do believe in God,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not sure if Christianity's well, okay. if I'm taking this out of context,
Mhm.
let me know. But if like Christianity is exactly what you're thinking is the right answer per
Mhm.
se, but more that you just believe in God.
Yeah, because I think so I think I was what I was saying, because to me it's like this, like I said, like the Bible is this text, right?
Mhm.
It's this text that we follow that is a blueprint to help us that help us hopefully to live what kind of life would you say? I wouldn't say a pure life, because we're not gonna live a pure
Yeah.
life. But I think what to
Moral,
try, yeah, I was trying to say
I guess.
I guess a moral, straightforward thinking kind of life. That's
Yeah.
what it's supposed to do. And the more that I sit and think about it, I'm just like, man, I don't know how much. Like, how do I know if this text is the right one? And there's a bunch of text everywhere. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? And I told you, I said, well, for me, the reason I'm always able to come back is because I always had these experiences in my life where I'm like, yo, if it wasn't for God, I would not be where I am today. Like, there's certain things in my life where I'm like, bro, like that is God. Like, it's 100% God. Like,
Yeah.
remember I told you, like, bro, I feel guilty sometimes because, like, why did I get chose to be the first one to graduate, the first one, and not to gaming and not to smoke and all these things?
Right.
And when I was young, I would attribute it to, discipline and hard work, which is true. But there's certain things in my life where I'm just like, if I didn't make this turn or I didn't make this decision, my whole life is different. If this person didn't come into my life, my whole life is different. It doesn't even look the same. If I didn't meet Charlotte and her family, my whole life is different.
Mhm.
And my teammates and people around me didn't have those same kind of like opportunities or people. So that's how I know God is real for me personally, just because of that. Like, I feel like I'm this trailblazer in my family and in these circles that I'm in, that God is kind of like, I'm gonna use a super churchy word, but it kind of has like anointed me. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I always can kind of come back. But it's the text specifically, because what I realize is that where I really feel connected to God is when I pray and through music. So I'm just like, why don't I just continue to just dive into that and just be okay with it?
Mhm.
Because even when I do read the Bible and it makes me feel good, or I feel like I'm learning something, somehow, some way, I'm always going back into this cycle of thinking and doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I guess the one thing with that is, wouldn't the same be said for if you just prayed or just listened to music? You could still go back into this quote unquote life outside
Yeah,
of.
no, 100%. But I think what I'm getting at is that, like, the Bible specifically feels like a chore. It feels like something that I have to like force myself to do in order to be connected to God.
Mhm.
And I'm realizing that I need to just stop forcing myself, because it's not healthy for me. Because I can use this tool, because the Bible is a tool.
Mhm.
It's not anything other than that. I don't look at it as like this end all be all thing, because I can't even conceptualize everything that's in it. And I'm not going to spend my whole life trying to be a scholar or somebody who studies the Bible to understand the stories in it.
Mhm.
Like, one thing I really love about Bibliotheca is that, like, Adam went in and like put all the original ways that we call God. Like, he uses the term Yahweh, and he doesn't say like Satan or anything, because Satan is I can't give you the like the details of it, but that's how we designed the Bible.
Mhm.
So when I think about prayer and music, that feels like way more of a connection to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I just feel really connected, and I don't really have to try.
Mhm.
And I think the reason why the Bible feels you feel guilty is because you have to try. And then if you don't try and you give up, then you feel shameful,
Yeah.
because you're supposed to do
Yeah.
that.
That's fair.
And to me, it's like, I'm tired of feeling like that, because no matter what in my life, whether I read it or I don't read it, nothing just magically happens to where I'm just like fixed. And if I'm trying to read it for the stories, that's one thing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not ever reading it to become like this scholar in the Bible and trying to like defend it in some regard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I wonder too. I think there's something to be said for almost, like in school, there's different types of learning. Like some people are just not. Some people go into school
Yeah.
and they don't learn the way that you're required to learn, and that can hold people back in some way. I, to some extent, think that that's the case too with. Well, I'll just say Christian faith. I don't want to speak for other ones. In the sense of music, I think that can be a form or a style of learning or connection or
Yeah.
whatever the word you want to use.
Mm.
Because I think too, I I'm not gonna act like I read the Bible consistently.
Mm.
I don't, and I feel guilty for that as well. I think in certain times I more, do bite-sized content with devotionals, and I can, pick little pieces or certain aspects of the Bible. I feel like I can easily read, like the Gospels, for example. That very story-based. It's pretty easy to kind of decipher on your own without like much deep thinking. But then there's other aspects of it where I go, I think for me, I have to hear someone either through a sermon or through a podcast, and that is the way I'm learning to understand what they are saying. Almost like someone has to decipher it for me. And so I agree. I think there is an aspect of it where I go like, it is frustrating almost because I go, that's not the way I want to learn or I want to connect or I want to worship, and yet it still feels like I'm supposed to.
Why do you feel like it's what we're supposed to be doing? Like if we found a way to connect with God, whether it's, music or a sermon, listening to a sermon or praying or going for a walk, whatever, like why do you feel like the shame that comes with like not wanting to read the Bible?
I'm sure some of it is societal in the sense of that culture, not overall society, but just that piece of it. But at the same time, I think there should be a want because it is God's word. It is from God, or at least that's what I believe. And it's, living and active, as they say. And so I think that there is a direct connection point there. And so I think that the guilt is not necessarily like you're a bad person for not doing it, but rather like you're missing out. And I think that that's how I try and view it. Not necessarily as like a negative of you're a bad person if you don't do this, but rather, hey, there's a lot that can come from doing it.
Yeah, no, that's good because I think for me, like I'm a very big like structure goal oriented person, and it's like, okay, well, if I'm supposed to read the Bible and that's going to help me be a better Christian, then I'm going to do that because that's like almost bare minimum of what I'm supposed to do. I think attaching like something that's so difficult to do consistently with the tag of bare minimum, you feel guilty because it's like I'm like that's bare minimum. Like it's the Bible. Like I'm supposed to read it. I'm supposed to read it, and I'm just like I'm just over that. It's like, yeah, it is bare minimum, but I feel like I don't think it's about needing it. It's just like I don't feel the same connection as some other ways. I don't feel connected as I do in some other ways of my faith. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not the Bible for me. It's like music and it's walking and praying, and I feel most connected like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like so, and I think that's like I know that's totally fine, and I think that like we have to be able to showcase that and share it and not like shame or even scare people of like, if you don't read the Bible, then like, I don't think it's like you're going to hell, but like it's in that realm of conversations. Like, well, you need to read your Bible because you got to know your, I remember I heard before, like you got to like know the Bible because you got to put on like the full armor of God. Yeah. It's like, bro, ain't no armor, dog. Like, I ain't gonna remember all that stuff anyway. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just try to like, and I think there's something to be said about like living a good life and doing the right things. But I think we all know the difference of right and wrong. Like we know what right and wrong is at a grand scale. Sure. At a grand scale, right? Like, and being right and wrong is subjective in a lot of ways because of where you're from and whatever. But I think at the end of the day, like the big things of right and wrong, I think we all just know that.
And then I guess I would say, like, why does it have to be defined by that being the thing that you get out of it?
Because I think we're all looking for the path of like least resistance in some regard. Like we're all looking for like the way that's going to keep us safe and keep us out of trouble. So that's why people go to it. Most people don't go to the Bible for the history. They're trying to get the answers.
Sure, but I don't know if they're asking the answers of like what's right and what's wrong.
Well, what are they? What do you think they're asking then?
I think they're asking for what is like the way in which I should live, and what is it that I can do for others, and frankly, what is it that I can do to prepare myself for eternal life? Because I think you're right. I think at the end of the day, it's like I know I shouldn't kill people.
Yeah.
I know I shouldn't commit adultery or have affairs or things like that. I think you're right. I think for me, I go, what happens after this? How can I live a life that's like clearly benefiting me and benefiting those around me?
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about it that way because I never like read it for, or my faith isn't about like what my next life is going to be, like eternal life and whatever. It's more about like what can I be doing while I'm living.
Sure.
And
yeah,
then,
that's fair.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that when I think of it that way, that's why like I think the connection part of it is so important to me because I feel like I'm rooted in living. Whereas like when I'm reading, it feels like I'm going back to understand how they lived and I'm trying to apply that now.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that just doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? And I think there are some lessons to be learned from these stories. You know what I'm saying? And I also think there's lessons to be learned from books now, like just modern day books.
Totally.
You see what I'm saying? So when I recognize that similarity from the Bible to regular books, I'm like, well, I feel more connected to like the people who are kind of here writing these books going through problems right now. And that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, because when I do read the Bible and I see stories and similarities in these people, those people aren't living in the time that I'm living now. But the thing is, we're all still going through the same exact things. So there's something to be learned from it. But I think tying myself to the Bible and trying to learn and discipline myself to know those stories and keep up with them for a life that is for my life to like follow that accord, I guess.
Yeah.
Just doesn't really do it for me.
Yeah. And I mean, that's up to you. Like at the end of the day, I think too, it's like you're one that you're very good with application and certain authors, like you mentioned, in today's world, you can recall that stuff. And I would say that I think for me, it does fit in certain aspects too, where anxiety or sadness, I will recall verses, because for me, why I agree that they may not be the same time period or going through the same struggles as me, it clearly has worked for thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is why I do find them to be beneficial.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying about like how we're all going through the same problems. Because what they were going through, we're going through now. Like you can talk about like, I mean, we can talk about a bunch of people in the Bible and modern day authors now. And I think, so then our conversation led to like, you're like, well, at the end of the day, it comes down to like your salvation. Like, do you believe in like what your faith is telling you, which is like that Christ died on the cross for your sins? I'm like, well, yeah, I actually do believe that. So then we were like, well, that's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's all that really matters. Cause I remember when I was young, it's like, I thought that when you did that, you automatically got into heaven. That's what the whole thing was when I was young. But it's like, that's not even what it's about. Like, how are you going about your life knowing that this is the sacrifice that somebody made for you? I don't think about Jesus being perfect. I don't think about the sea splitting in half. I don't think about none of that stuff. It's like, do I simply believe that somebody died for me to have a better life? Right?
Yeah.
And he left some guidelines for me to follow. He left me with a gift, which is like the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
That's all I need.
Yes. Yeah.
That's it. That's all that really matters. So that's why all this questioning and stuff with the Bible and reading it and whatever, it's good because then you can always go back to the root. I think if you're lost in the sauce with all these shoulda, coulda, wouldas and guidelines and rules that somebody else is telling you to do, and you're not asking your own hard questions and getting your own answers, obviously answers from resources that you trust and people that you trust, that's the only way you really can stand on your feet with your faith. And that's also how you can look at other people's faith and not judge them. Because when you realize what you're going through in your own faith, other people in other religions and stuff, they're going through the same thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, that's where like respect is really there for me. It's like, bro, I get it. Like, yo, like what you believe in is cool. Because if I was born somewhere else, I would probably more than likely believe something else. Where I was raised, where I was born, Christ was at the center in some regard. And that's what I was around. I had experiences in my own life that made me believe that.
Yeah.
And I do believe that. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess that's totally fair. That makes sense that you would say that. So then how do you know that this is your own beliefs rather than what you've been taught and influenced by?
So I went through a hard few years of like really testing it, where I like left Christianity. I was like looking at, yogis in India. I was reading stuff about Buddha. I was meditating. I took a course on like with a yogi on like how to like not reach nirvana, but it's like that kind of where I took a whole course on it. And the whole time when I was doing that stuff, I kept getting the urge to listen to Christian music and pray, and I just didn't do it. I didn't do it. And after experiencing all these different things and experimenting with different things, I was like, well, all this other stuff, there's principles in these things that are in the same with my own thing that I was taught. So once I kind of got over that hump of, okay, like we all kind of have some of the same beliefs. You know what I'm saying? All these religions.
Yeah.
And for me, I've had real experiences with my own faith that make it mine. You know what I mean? So I think almost getting respect for other religions, trying to find something else outside of my own, made me realize like, no, like what I believe in it's good.
Yeah.
And I think most of it probably was like understanding that like we're all going through the same stuff no matter what religion you are.
Yeah.
So that's what really did it for me. I think the experimentation, definitely asking the questions, and then starting to see like where my beliefs came from. And I think another thing too is like also retracting back from the modern day access to excess of Christian people and pastors who just give out information, bro. Yeah. This could be a whole nother podcast, bro. But you gotta dial back from all the stuff that people are saying, bro. Because a lot of it is sales. A lot of it's just selling.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and I think once I dove back, I was into like and there's nothing wrong with these people, but I was really into like the Michael Todds and all those people and the crazy like stage performances. I was into all that stuff, and it's all flashy and whatever. But after a while, you realize, all right, like they kind of saying the same stuff.
Yeah.
And they're using the same expressions, the same verbiage, the same tone all the time. And it gets old when you're mature enough to see that stuff. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think, that's what did it for me. It's just like asking the questions, experimenting, and learning about other things, gaining respect for that stuff, and then going back to the root of my own self and saying like, do I believe in this because of me, even though it was introduced to me? And then that's what did it for me.
And I think like at the root of it, that's all we need.
Yeah,
like
that's all that matters too.
I feel like for my whole life I would consider myself a Christian, and I've just never been more like wanting to not use that word out and about.
Bro, I almost didn't say it when I just said it a while ago.
I mean, it just has a terrible rap at this point. I'm gonna say it that way, and that's my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. And that's sad, but at the same time, I would say I'm not gonna let that deter me from going about it the way I believe it should be.
Yeah, and I think that's the healthiest thing is like, look, at the end of the day, at the very minimum of what a Christian is, we are Christians. But the way that the world looks at them because of the access to what these mainstream Christian people with audience or even without audiences do, it's like you don't even want to be associated with that kind of like behavior. You know what I'm saying? So that's why like I just dial back, like, look, like I believe in what I believe in and I am a Christian, but it's like I don't even say that because it's like I'm not associated with like the mainstream stuff. You know what I mean?
I have a question. So, well, probably forever now, but more recently you've gotten comments on some of your posts that are like, oh, I mean, basically what they're insinuating is, oh, it seems like maybe you've left the faith, as they say. And what do you say to stuff like that? Well,
what's interesting is that when I see comments like you had a trust in God or you left the faith or I know you were questioning your faith, it's like, yeah, but you are too. I'm just saying something about it. And don't project what you're going through on me because I'm not afraid to speak up on it and say it publicly. We're all going through the same damn stuff. So you can throw the God and the Jesus and Jesus is Lord and he loves you and salvation and all this. Sure. But I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing at home. I don't know what you're doing in your marriage. I don't know what you're doing with your friends. I don't know what you're doing at all. So don't come projecting over here. I'm sharing my experiences because 1, I got thick skin, and 2, I know it's going to help other people, and 3, I'm telling the truth. So to hell with you. You know what I'm saying? Like if what I'm saying is making you uncomfortable, what Dion say? What Dion says like don't let my confidence something, I forgot what he says.
Mistaken for something else.
Yeah,
right?
don't let my confidence. I'm about to look it up because it's too good not to look up.
They're gonna call it cockiness. They're gonna call it I'm going to say something and I want you to hold on to it, all right? Get your cameras ready because this is game. Do not allow my confidence to offend your insecurity.
There it is right there. It's like, bro, like, come on, dog. Like, if you're insecure within your own faith and stuff, cool. But just because I'm confident in, like, asking hard questions and standing up for what I stand for, don't let it deter you from your own beliefs and stuff. Don't project that on me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, because when I was like super, you know, Christian-y or whatever, and like everything was fine and dandy and Jesus is Lord and everything's gonna be fine, I'm gonna pray about it. It's like you're rooting because that's a safe space.
Yeah. That's
safe. We're not gonna be condemned, right? We're gonna just be like, we're all just screaming Jesus in the streets. No, we're not. We are on the comments. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you ain't doing it out there for real.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I say to people like that. It's like, look, man, and like the thing about it, like I don't ever even get mad. I'm just I'm like, bro, okay, like you got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
and I think like if they ask a question or you know, try not debate, but like
or spark a conversation.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's like, yeah, absolutely. But I think for me too, it's when I see that on even your stuff, I go, man, that is a billboard.
Yes.
Like, especially if your post does really well, that's potentially hundreds of thousands of people that now
see exactly what we're trying to, what I'm not trying to associate with.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. And that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, that's why, and you notice that like those are always the most controversial comments.
Right.
Because there's other people who are like, bro, this is the reason why people don't like being around Christians.
Right.
Because of stuff like this.
Right.
Like you can't even breathe around these people. You know what I'm saying?
And that's like the opposite of what we're supposed to do.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
Yeah.
Like for me with my faith is like, I knew from a young age, I'm like, the way that I would love to be about my faith is like the way that I act. I want somebody to ask me like, yo, like, why are you so nice and kind and whatever? That's what I want my faith to be about. Because then I can be like, well, it's because of my faith. It's because I believe that, like, you know, Christ died for my sins. And I try my best to act upon that thankfulness that I have. So I try to be nice. I try to speak kind. That's what I really want my faith to be about. It's about how I'm acting towards people.
Correct.
And not putting it on myself and my work.
Right.
That's what my faith is to me, but it's so damn hard.
Yeah.
It's hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. When you ask hard questions and you try to put in the work and you try to read the Bible, you try to pray and you try to play music or listen to music and you just fail, it's like, well, I'm always going to start over from somewhere.
Yeah.
That's why it's so humbling. That's what's beautiful about faith. But if you just sitting up here and just hoorah and kumbaya and all this stuff, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
We're not learning. We're not growing. We're doing the exact opposite of what faith is all about.
Exactly.
Well, at the end of the day, that's what makes faith so good. It's like you always get a chance to dig deeper and try again, fail, go back to your faith, feel good, be on a high. Now you're on a low, and you always have somebody or something that loves you, no matter what faith you're in. And that's beautiful, man. Like it really is for everybody. And what you believe in at the end of the day, that's cool. That's great. Because at the end of the day, somebody taught it to you. So I should probably say it again, right? because at the end of the day, somebody taught it to you. Let's just start there.
Mm-hmm.
Start asking questions. That doesn't mean you're running away or trying to look for something. It was like, no, I just want to know more. Start with that.
I feel like that's what this conversation, if someone has a takeaway, it's not like, oh, this was like a whole marketing tactic on our part to like get you to become a Christian. I think for us, it's just both like, one, you're not perfect. It's really hard. And two, like ask questions.
Yeah. Ask hard questions too. Like the ones that like, yo, like I used to go to my pastor like, yo, what about this?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like super hard questions. And then it got to the point where nobody had answers because nobody has the damn answers.
Yeah.
So now what are we going to do?
At some point, it's just your personal beliefs.
Exactly. That's all this stuff is, bro. Like, so yeah. That's all we got for y'all today. And if you have any questions, you can put it in the YouTube video or you can leave a, what is it called on iTunes?
A review?
iTunes, wow.
Like a rating?
Yeah, a rating or a comment. And let us know what you think. And we will see you guys on the next one.